Man, oh man, did Week 12 bring the fireworks. Welcome into Game Day Recap. Haley Sutton here. So excited to be back with the fellas who we'll introduce you to in a minute. But first, take a look at some of these scores. First and foremost, Shedeur Sanders, welcome to the NFL. He snaps like a 50-year streak of quarterbacks in Cleveland getting wins on their opening start. We're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders in just a minute. The Kansas City Chiefs, my goodness, got me stumbling over my words. Patrick Mahomes, inevitable again. We'll talk about their playoff hopes. Right now, they're on the outside looking in. How could I forget my Dallas Cowboys outlasting the Philadelphia Eagles? We got so much to talk about, so let's head on over to the desk and meet the crew. Got a little bit different flavor today. Pete Prisco, as always. We start with our man across the way. We've got our GM, Carthon. And we've also got Logan Ryan, two-time Super Bowl champ, hopping in for Damian Harris today. Fellas, good to see you. Welcome back. How was last week? I'm sure you guys missed me so much.
No, you welcome back. You've all been here.
I know. I took a little hiatus.
Intro in Spanish now or no?
Hola.
Okay.
Mi amo es Haley. Donde es América? Pero visitar España last week.
Wow.
Not bad, not bad.
We'll give it to her. Duolingo, shout out.
My glasses are fogging up over here. Let's get the conversation started with the Kansas City Chiefs, guys, because my goodness, did they really get some things in perspective here. It was a crazy one, and they were playing the Colts, and we kind of expected this to go one way or the other. Pete, I'm going to lob it over to you here. What stood out to you about what the Kansas City Chiefs were able to do today?
Well, when Patrick Mahomes had to make plays, Patrick Mahomes made the plays. And this had been a guy last week, didn't play very well against Denver. Remember, he turned the ball over in the red zone, missed some shots down the field. And I even said during the week, this has to be, it was like Michael Jordan when he had an off night. It's time for Michael Jordan to be Michael Jordan again. When he had to be, he was Michael Jordan again. He made a lot of throws in key moments and in one-on-one situations and hit those shots. And for them to be who they are, he has to be that, and he was that.
Well, for me, it's that they not only did they come back and get a win, and especially what Pete just said in terms of Patrick Mahomes making plays when he had to, but he finished this game without a touchdown pass.
Right.
And they were still able to. But, of course, Pete, I'm going to shout out the running backs. Kareem Hunt, 30 carries, 106 yards. When was the last time we had a 100-yard rusher out of that Kansas City backfield? And we've been talking all year that someone in the backfield has to do something to create these short yardage situations and to have the threat of the play-action pass to throw the ball downfield for Patrick Mahomes. And today the running backs came up huge.
Nothing like you applauding a guy who averaged 3.5 per rush.
Listen,
and he lost a fumble, by the way.
Listen,
Come on.
It does not matter. All you need is the threat of the run game, and which is what they had. It was the threat, and those linebackers and linebackers today around the league, there were about 5 or 6 guys that had 14 or more tackles today, including in this game, Jermaine Pratt finished the game with 20, and his running mate, Zaire Franklin, had 14.
And I know you love Bolton as well, the linebacker, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, the Chiefs kind of look like the Chiefs we saw from the last couple of years. And look, the Chiefs have been a dynasty, all right? And I played in a dynasty in New England Patriots, and we were blowing people out in our dynasty.
Humble brag.
The Chiefs,
Humble brag.
people out. The Chiefs were the one-score winners. That's how they do. That's how they've done their dynasty, close games, and they've been so good over the last few years. This year, 0-5 in one-score games. Well, this is their first one. Now they're 1-5, right? And Mahomes kept it close down the stretch. You talk about the running back, but I'm going to talk about Rashee Rice. Go-to guy. We knew when he came back things were going to explode, but he had 8 for 141 today. And he had all the big catches down the stretch when you decide to punt the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and not play for the win. You punt it back to him. He finds Rashee Rice down the stretch to do what they got to do to end up walking off there.
And there was one point late in the game as we were all sitting around watching, and Mahomes scrambled, made a big throw over the middle, and Logan looks like, man, it's those damn Chiefs.
I got PTSD still. So many times.
Let's keep the conversation with Patrick Mahomes, because we know that he's been very vocal in saying that this has not been the year that any of them expected it to. But this was the largest fourth quarter comeback win of his career. He avoids a three-game losing streak ever in his career. Rand, when you think about what he has had to do this season in this game specifically to get them past the Colts, what impresses you about what he continues to do each week?
I mean, I'll be honest that we're at the point of Patrick Mahomes where we expect greatness every time he steps out on the field. We expect, whether they're down 10 or 14 in the fourth quarter, this is the one group, this is the one quarterback where you say, okay, there's a chance they could win the game, even if it's 5 minutes left in the game and it's a 2-score game. And we talked about it earlier just in terms of them coming into this game 0-5 in those one-score games, in risk of being able to lose 3 games in a row, which has never happened, like you said, and they found a way to win the football game. And that's all you need. You called it earlier. November's here.
Yep.
The season has officially started, and this is where things ramp up, and this is where you're going to see the best Chiefs football.
And we even talked earlier, too, something that we're going to get into a little bit later as well, but the game on Thursday coming up between the Cowboys and the Chiefs, playoff implications for sure on the line, early expectations in that game from the Chiefs side of it.
It's a massive game now because of what the Cowboys did as well in winning. And if the Chiefs don't win today, their playoff odds are extremely low. And if Cowboys lose today, I mean, their playoff odds were essentially 0. But now with both these teams winning this Thursday matchup, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes on Thanksgiving, it's going to be massive because both these teams, they can't afford any more losses. They can't afford any more drops, right? They're playing playoff football now. So to have that matchup on CBS on Thursday, I think is going to be huge for the viewers. And I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch because both those offenses down the stretch, Dak having the ball with those receivers, Patrick Mahomes having the ball with Rashee Rice and his receivers, I think it's going to be fireworks.
We need to get a time check on this game, win this game, because I'm going to plan my dinner around watching this game because I want to make sure I'm not dozing off.
You
while
don't
this
do that
game's-
every year?
Yeah.
That's like a staple in my household. You wake
You
up.
won't. Your wife will plan the dinner, and you'll be there to show up when she tells you to be there. Come on, you know better than that. No, look, the thing about Patrick Mahomes, in the first half, he had 14 completions and only 114 yards. It was all dink and dunk, and checking the ball down. In the second half, he had 15 completions for over 200 yards. When you say he's back to being Patrick Mahomes, he's back to being Patrick Mahomes. He hit those crossers, and Rice turned a bunch of those plays in, but he found the one-on-one opportunities, and he hit those. Look, he served notice to the rest of the league today. Hey, guys, don't forget about me, and you do not want me in the playoffs. One flaw, though, I still continue to see with the Chiefs. No sacks. They do not rush the passer well enough. They have to get that going down the stretch.
When you look at the rest of the schedule, we just talked about the Cowboys games, but after that, they've got the Texans, the Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. How much will that defensive side of the ball be an impact down the stretch here?
Well, it has to be. I mean, particularly starting this week when you play the Cowboys. I mean, you play the Cowboys, you're going to have to play good defense. They can score. We know that. Texans aren't great on offense, but they will have Stroud back. The Chargers game is essentially, in my book, down the road is going to be an elimination game. I think one of those two teams goes in that game. Whoever wins that game is going to be eliminated, I think, because the Chargers play a brutal schedule. And then the Broncos, you know, that's always a tough game. You're going to have to play well. But there aren't a lot of great offenses on that list there when you look at it. But playoff time, you know you got to rush the passer.
And Mahomes, to me, like, when I go back to him real quick, he's not always great in the first half. Like, there's so many times we see him behind, but it's his comebacks. When it gets limited possessions down the stretch, I was asked earlier this week, do people still fear the Chiefs, right? And I don't think as a player, as a coach, GM, we ever said fear. You always respected the Chiefs. Because when Mahomes has the ball at Andy Reid in the final 4 minutes of a fourth quarter and your quarterback has a possession and you have a fourth down, you got to decide, are we going to go for this or are we going to punt the ball back to Mahomes with 2 timeouts and live to see what happens? And today was the first time he did it this season where he was able to execute that drive. He's done that his entire career, but he got back to it, drove the full field against the Colts. And I think that's a respect that I don't care if you're the New England Patriots in the first round of the playoffs or second round. You're saying, hey, man, do we want to punt the ball back to Mahomes? We've seen this story time and time again, and that's the respect that he's earned around the league in his career so far.
It certainly was. Today it took overtime, but Patrick Mahomes stands strong. They keep those playoff hopes alive. Got to hit a break here on Game Day Recap, but when we come back, it is my favorite subject. The Dallas Cowboys giving everyone a heart attack, but they come away with a win, taking down the Eagles. We'll take you through all the action next on Game Day Recap. Welcome back into Game Day Recap. I don't know that the fellas are as excited as I am, but that was a big win for my boys, so we're excited there. But in terms of just the Cowboys and what they've been able to do, this has been a weird year. They've got the tie. They've had some games where they probably should have won. They've had some games where they probably should have lost. But either way, Logan, I come to you first. What impressed you the most about what Dallas was able to do today against Philly?
They played opportunistic defense, Haley. You know, like they made plays. Obviously, the Saquon fumble was huge there, and that's what they've been missing all year. But this is the second time that I've seen Dallas almost outperform Philly. I mean, I think of the first game of the year, right? And it looked like it was a couple CeeDee Lamb drops away from them winning that one. So if Philly is the cream of the crop or one of the best teams in NFC, and Dallas is the 10th seed at the moment, they're not that far apart. And that's what, I feel as if they can figure out some things on defense, right, where they can get a couple turnovers. Dallas and those receivers, or Dak and those receivers, can keep them in any game. And Philly does not look by any means a far better team than Dallas anytime they're both on the field.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't think being able to score points was ever an issue for the Dallas Cowboys. I think stopping people from scoring points has been the issue. And last week we spoke about it when their first game with Logan Wilson and Quinnen Williams out there. I felt like there was going to be a pre-trade defensive group that they had and the post-trade defensive group. And I will be interested to see by the end of the regular season where they rank statistically pre-trade and post-trade, because I think now you have opportunistic playmakers out there and you're starting to get your other guys healthy on that defense, and they're going to come up and make some plays for them like they did today.
Well, 6 new guys that weren't there. I mean, you talk about Hooker coming back, Overshawn coming back. You had Wilson, you had Williams. I mean, Carson's back. Ravel's playing in the corner. You have guys that weren't there. You need bodies. They didn't have any bodies, and now those guys are getting back, and you're starting to see the plays being made and the confidence growing. They're still not great in the secondary yet, but because there's a lot of young guys back there, but they're getting better, and that's the most important thing, because we know they're going to score points, by the way. They're going to score a lot of points. By the way, the defense, I don't know if this is great on their part or bad coaching on the Eagles' part. 22 yards for Saquon Barkley in the game on 10 carries. He only carried the ball 10 times. That should never happen. Good job by the Cowboys stopping the run.
It was tied for the largest comeback win in franchise history. I know that is music to Cowboys fans' ears. I know it is music to owner and general manager Jerry Jones's ears. And so we're going to go boots on the ground out to AT&T Stadium, where we find our Garrett Podell, who got a chance to jump in on that scrum that everyone sees. Garrett, bring us up to speed. How did Jerry feel about the win? What's the vibe like at AT&T right now?
Hey, Haley, great to join you here from Jerry World. And Jerry himself, I mean, he viewed this win as kind of a season-altering or defining win. He said, we took really 2 paths. He was referring to when they traded for Quinnen Williams, traded for Logan Wilson. He said there was going in with Dak in the future or recalibrating. And he said they needed this win to stay in the playoff hunt, and he views this as now they're in the playoff race, which mathematically they are. And he said he couldn't say enough about Quinnen Williams. He said he was, quote, incremental. He meant instrumental, but instrumental to what this defense has done. And when I had a chance to talk to Oso Digizua, defense sack with the sack at the end of the game with Jalen Hurts, he said, yeah, Q has breathed life into us. And Dak Prescott, he opened his press conference saying, defense, defense, defense. So, hearing what you guys were saying about how there's a post-trade defense, like Rand was saying, that's exactly how the Cowboys feel. And obviously, a lot of love for George Pickens in that locker room right now, too.
So we know on the defense, like, Rand, I want to ask you this. Like, obviously, Michael Parsons, we all know that what happened there with the trade and whatnot. But they require the D tackle. And Quinnen Williams is not going to acquire as many sacks as Michael Parsons or what an edge rusher would do. But how does he impact this defense and going forward as a D tackle, and how a big D tackle like Quinnen Williams is?
So when you pair him, because it's not just him, right? Obviously, Q is a great player. He's an all-pro player, and he's shown that in every year that he's played in the league. But I think it's the pairing with Kenny Clark. That now you have those 2 big guys in the middle. Kenny Clark can get edges, he can hit gaps, but he's also stout at the point of attack. And then now you add Quinnen next to him that can be that disruptive force up the middle. So now the center can only slide one way. And it's like, all right, pick your poison. Who are you sliding to? And now if you slide to Quinnen, then now you open up Kenny Clark to be able to win those one-on-one matchups. And like I know, yes, you want to be able to get pressure off the edge, but the quickest point to the quarterback is up the middle. And now they have an edge rusher an interior rusher in Quinnen Williams that can do that. And then in those 3rd and long situations, you can go with those 2-3 techniques with him and Odigizua. And then, again, good luck, because now you're forcing one guard to take a tackle set, and you're going to slide the other and then give you one-on-one matchups on the edge.
Garrett, before we let you go, obviously we discussed a really big game coming up at Jerry's World on Thursday between the Cowboys and the Chiefs. It's going to feel like a playoff atmosphere. Did you get a sense from any of the guys in there what the excitement level is for that, what the challenge will be come Thursday?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you hear NFL players say, oh, yeah, we got to flush this 24-hour rule on to the next game. George Pickens said, no, we need to build on this momentum. We need to use this and take this into Thursday against the Kansas City Chiefs. And why not? I mean, the Chiefs are a team that just fought for their season in overtime. They came back and they did win. like the Cowboys, and the Cowboys, they're excited to go out and play. And you asked George Pickens, what's it like being out there and making these big catches? And he said, I expect to make these catches. And he said he could hear the roar each and every time he caught the ball. And I believe when he caught the slant to get the Cowboys down in a field goal range to get Brandon Aubrey's 42-yarder set up, I mean, this place was going absolutely bananas. And I think that's an environment that if any team's coming in, it's going to be a tough place to play. And Dak has ultimate trust in both Pickens and CeeDee Lamb.
Well, Garrett, I trust that you're going to enjoy the spread up there in the press box on Thanksgiving. Nothing better than that prime rib and the mac and cheese. We appreciate the time joining us here on Game Day Recap. Fellas, before we move on, I do want to turn the page and talk Eagles for a moment. Logan, you kind of mentioned that this hasn't really been very pretty over the last couple of weeks. How concerned are you, I guess, with what the Eagles are doing, especially when every week it's this player is upset, Jalen Hurts can't do this, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, when you win a Super Bowl, right, I think it's the greatest blessing in the world. But sometimes it can be a curse as your career goes on because that's your standard from week to week and going forward. If the Eagles finish the season on a loss, the NFC Championship, they get to the Super Bowl and lose, the divisional, whatever it is, it's a bad season at that point. That's the standard that A.J. Brown wants. And the sad thing is they really haven't had it all clicking at all. We talked about Saquon, 22 yards today, right? He has not been getting going. He's not had the season he had last year. A.J. Brown got going today. They targeted him. They found him. Okay, good things are happening. But then Saquon's not involved. It just does not look the same. So are the Eagles a really good team in the NFC? Can they do some things? Yes, they can. Do they look like last year's team, in my opinion? They do not. And when you want to repeat as a Super Bowl champion, you got to be better than last year's version of yourself because everyone is game planning for last year's version of yourself. So I haven't seen it consistently. It's going to be a tough way for the Eagles to finish this year. And if it doesn't end right, there's going to be a lot of rumors and a lot of all types of stuff going on in the offseason.
Yeah, and to your point, Logan, there's only one happy team at the end of the year anyway. No matter how far you go, it's only one team that's going to hold up the trophy, and that will be the happiest team in the league. But the one thing I want to say about this Philadelphia Eagles offense, there's only one football. Right? There's only one football. And when you talk about being able to win football games, I think they have the weapons to win any way possible, but it requires them to play like a team. And Logan, these defensive coaches are smart, and they force you to do things that you're uncomfortable with. And so what this Philadelphia Eagles team has to focus on is what is it going to take for us to win this week? Right. And whatever that is, let's do it, and let's do it well. Let's do it at a high level. But everyone now is focused on their individual numbers, right? And rightfully so from a contractual standpoint, because that could be some talk later. But you talked about the standard of once you've won a Super Bowl, the standard what it becomes. But on the other side of that, it breeds the disease of me, because now you've won as a team. And now you got the team award. Right. Now it becomes, what about me? I have to get mine, and I think that's what we're seeing out of this Eagles team.
Well, here's the other part of that. You're winning 21-0 on the road. 21-0. And you have Saquon Barkley in your backfield with the supposed – now, the offensive line is banged up. They're not as good as they've been. But he only gets 10 carries, 21-0 lead. There's something wrong with that. And I think Kevin Patullo needs to stop listening to the wide receivers, stop listening to the fans, and get the ball to Barkley. They won the Super Bowl last year for two reasons. Barkley and the offensive line, or three reasons. Barkley and the offensive line and the defensive line. You know how many sacks they had today? The defensive line? Not a one. Nakobe Dean had one.
Pete, I will say this, though. It's got to be about the team, right? It's got to be, like you said, a disease of me is happening, right? Because they've shown they can win any which way. They can win by having the receivers having a big day. They can win by running the ball having a big day. They can win by having lockdown defense. They have all the capabilities. And like during the New England Patriot days, right, there was games where Brady would throw it 60 times. And then there was times he would hand it to LeGarrette Blount 50 times. He would do whatever is needed to win the game. And although when you're winning, you have to run the ball. I completely agree with that. But when the other team's best players on defense are Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, then maybe you got to throw it in crucial situations to win it because their D tackles are their best players and they're not going to let you run the ball down the middle. So we saw them swing the ball to Saquon in some passes, but he fumbled, right? So whatever it is, it just seems like they're not willing to sacrifice. Whoever it is has to sacrifice that game in order to win. It seems like individuals want the ball. When it doesn't go right, it's because this individual. What about Devontae Smith? He should have got the ball more, right? It's always that problem because they have the luxury of riches.
Sometimes when you got too much, it doesn't work out very well. If only they would have watched our ball security segment that we did in week 3, week 4. Okay, let's take a break here on Game Day Recap. When we come back, a really special conversation to be had in one of the best weeks in the NFL. My cause, my cleats. One of our panelists has some cleats he's going to show off next. Well, a really special weekend in the NFL. Hundreds of players showcasing causes that are important to them with custom cleats through the NFL's My Cause, My Cleats campaign. Cancer, dog shelters, whatever is important to these players, they are showing them off in style on their shoes. You're getting a look at just, I was going to say just a couple of them, but there was quite a few different custom cleats on there as you take a look at the bigger picture here. We are fortunate enough to not only have a couple of players on our panel, on our set here, who have won custom cleats. Our GM currently rocking a pair of custom cleats as well. Rand, tell us a little bit about your cause, your cleats that you got on the set right here.
Yeah, so I'm representing the 100 Black Men of Middle Tennessee, where our mission is to nurture, enhance the growth and development and opportunities for young Black men in and around the Middle Tennessee area. We have several subsets of groups in there. We have the 100 Kings, where we nurture kids from 5th grade through high school, where we have sessions with them talking about leadership and just opportunity. And then we also have a group of college students where we bring those guys in and we spend a lot of time just nurturing and mentoring these young men just to create opportunities and create lasting legacy for young Black men in the Middle Tennessee area.
That's amazing. Awesome. And you obviously, you've rocked cleats as well.
Yeah.
What are some causes that have been important to you?
I love this week. I think it should be every week where your players can wear crazy cleats and go for a good cause. But I was a dog shelter guy, so I'm the Ryan Animal Rescue Foundation, my own personal. Me and my wife have a foundation to help shelter animals, promote, adopt, raise money for shelter dogs and cats. And I was creative with it. I had cat dog themed cleats. I had 101 Dalmatians. Any way I could paint a dog on my cleats. And obviously, we all love our furry friends. I don't know if Pete has any pets.
I got cats, dude.
Okay, so he had cats. So, I was showing love for that, but it's always my favorite week of the year. NFL always finds you for doing fun stuff with your cleats, so this is a week you can wear whatever color you want and raise money.
I just wish I could get those autographed, but they would take the value way down.
Listen,
those are clean. I like them.
You cracking a joke, but I'm with you on that. I don't want to mess up.
Those are good-looking shoes, man.
Listen, a fresh pair of ones.
Yeah.
That are
like
clean
that.
with a design and a logo
awesome.
on them.
The
lace
classics, it's very good.
The laces are towel. They're the towel material laces. So,
that's nice.
Hey, man, it's fresh. They came with it this year.
You can wear those, too.
Yeah, and you said that they are going to auction them off and the money will go towards
and the
your cause.
The proceeds will go towards your cause, which for me, as I said before, will be the 100 Black Men of Middle Tennessee. And for Logan, it would have been his dog and animal shelter. And so that's the good part about this game. We talk about it. We were looking at a game earlier where a player had his socks down and was like, that's a $5,000 fine. But on a day like today, man, you get to show your creativity. You get to show who you are as a person, what's important to you and your heart and the organizations you support. And again, these things are auctioned off and 100% of the proceeds go to those organizations.
And Logan won't say it, but I will. Your organization just won a very big and special award as well. So congrats and thank you for the work that you're doing for those dogs. What cause would you rep if you could put them on your shoes?
Cancer.
Cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now I can't crack my joke.
Well, no. I mean, my mom died of
keep it
cancer at
serious.
52, so yeah.
Good
Cancer.
cause.
Always.
All right. Wow, a nice wholesome segment that we've got here on Game Day Recap.
Yeah.
Proud of you guys. All right, let's take it right here on the show. When we come back, we're talking about what everyone's talking about, the legendary performance of Shedeur Sanders making history in Cleveland. We'll break it down when you come back on Game Day Recap.
You told us that this week felt like you were getting back to normal, being a starting quarterback, like you have your whole career. But this is going to be your first NFL start. What does that opportunity feel like in this moment?
Feels good, but we cool, calm, collective. Like this ain't nothing to us.
And what do you hope to show against this Raiders defense, your teammates, yourself, and these Browns fans with their play today?
I'm who they've been looking for. Appreciate it.
The mic drop in his first start. And hey, listen, he went out and delivered. 11 of 20, 209 yards, a touchdown. He did have the interception, but that pass right there got a few people up on their feet. And how about this, guys? Shedeur Sanders becomes the first Browns quarterback since Eric Zaire, in 1995 to win his first career start. Insane work The Browns get it done. They take down the Raiders 24-10. And Shedeur, post-game, obviously very, very excited to get the win. We had Dad in the stands celebrating. Shedeur also mentioned his mom being in the stands there as well, too. But this was a really big deal, I feel like, for Shedeur Sanders going forward. There's been a lot of conversation about who he is supposed to be and when he was going to get that opportunity. Pete, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the performance overall, I'm going to give you first word. What did you think?
He should be the starting quarterback the rest of the way. And I'm not going to sit here and say this was the greatest performance in the world, but he should be the starting quarterback the rest of the way. Find out what you have in him. You know what Dillon Gabriel is. He showed it. He's not the long-term answer. So now go find out what you have in Shedeur Sanders. He did a lot of really good things today. He did some really bad things today. But that's what you get with rookie quarterbacks. Now you got to see him grow. Let him go through the week again. Let him continue to grow as a quarterback. Find out what he is. Look, if Gabriel isn't the guy and Shedeur isn't the guy, you go back into the pool next year and you draft one. But if he shows down the stretch that he can be that guy, then you might not need to do that. Then you have a cheap quarterback and you can play him and build the thing around him. But today, there were a lot of really good things. There was also some really bad things. So that's what you expect from a young quarterback.
Hey, look, I'm a fan of it. I'm truly a fan of it. The NFL is about earning your opportunities, right? And obviously, Shedeur didn't get it how he wanted, and the fans wanted it a certain way. And I don't really know what happened with all that. But he had his opportunity today, and he said perfect timing. He said perfect timing. That's what he said. Because look, he made plays all outside the pocket. Like, he didn't play inside the pocket. Me and Ram were watching it. It seemed very like they only had a week it seemed like they only had a week of practice out there. But the Browns have a dominant defense. They've got the greatest player in football right now, Myles Garrett, on the other side, and play like that on offense, right? Take care of the ball. Shedeur had the bad one, but for the most part, they ran the ball. It seemed like every time Shedeur got him out there, they took him out the game. That was a whole other thing. Judkins was running more quarterback in the low red than Shedeur. I like to see him more opportunities in the low red zone. But the kid has won a lot in his life. He's been a starter his entire life, and this is his job. This is his time to earn another start, and you keep doing it. And every time you win at quarterback, don't really matter what those stats are like. It gives you another chance to start the next week.
Yeah, I want to start with piggybacking off of what Pete said, just in terms of, and we talked about this a lot on this show, there should have been a point where he got this opportunity.
Right.
Right? And for what Pete said, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you have 2 first-round draft picks next year. Let's see whether it's Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. Let's see what we have there, because like Pete said, if we don't have our quarterback there, we can move around the draft board and draft one. That's one option. Or if we feel like Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur is that guy, now we have 2 swings at it in the first round to build around. You mentioned this defense is a dominant defense.
Oh, yeah.
It's a top 10 defense. Now you just need to continue to build up front and add more playmakers. But watching his performance today, I agree. There were a lot of good. There was some bad. He got on the interception where that was a great defensive call. And we knew with Patrick Graham's defense, he was going to be able to heat him up. There was going to be some looks that he hadn't seen before. But that's what you get when you're playing a rookie quarterback. But the biggest thing for me and my biggest takeaway from all of this was how he lifted the team.
Yeah,
when he hit that deep ball that we saw to Isaiah Bond, they panned, and you saw Myles Garrett jump up with some excitement and kind of like look at the guys like, oh, okay,
right,
we might have us one. And that's what a player like this does for the Cleveland Browns. It gives them a lift, and they believe in it. And I think guys will tend to play a little bit harder for a guy that they believe in.
Don't you think they've already decided on Dillon Gabriel? I mean,
I can't say that.
Here was going to be my follow to that, because that's where I was going next. I wanted to know what Kevin Stefanski said after the game, and he is not naming a starter. He said, quote, I am not going to get into that when asked on who's going to be the starter next week. And so, I don't know. What does that tell you?
See, personally, I think we've seen what Dillon Gabriel can do, and it isn't it, to me. So why not find out what you have in Shedeur Sanders? Do I think in the back of my mind that he is it for the long term? No, I don't. But find out. And maybe he surprises people. Nobody thought Tom Brady was going to be it either when he took the field, and he proved to be arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. So I think we've seen what Dillon Gabriel can do. Now let's find out what Shedeur Sanders can do down the stretch. And if neither one can do it, go get one of those guys in the draft next year.
I'll say this. I think we've seen, but we can't speak for Kevin Stefanski.
What would you do? I'm going to put you on the spot.
No, for me, I would move forward with Shedeur. I've seen what I've seen out of Dillon Gabriel. I look at the film, and you study the film, and you understand how they've kind of I don't even know what the correct word is, how they've kind of held Dillon Gabriel back in terms of how they've called the offense. They didn't push the ball downfield a whole lot with Dillon Gabriel. It was short, quick timing passes, get the ball out, and hopefully allow your playmakers to make plays. Shedeur, whether it was called or not, he was pushing the ball downfield, creating those throws, those explosives downfield. So that, to me, will allow the offense to open up. Now, Jerry Jeudy and guys like him, they have to step up.
Yeah.
They have to step up. Jerry Jeudy can't make that play that he made. You know as well as I know, there's always pursuit and pressure coming. You have to protect the football because right there, you're going in to score. Whether it was 3 points or potentially a touchdown, you're in position after the quarterback made yet another good play on the day. But for me, I'm what you said. I want to see what Kevin Stefanski says because I believe last week he said when Dillon Gabriel's healthy, he'll be the starter. And now it's, well, I don't want to get into all that. So for me, we'll see.
I think that's crazy because, Rand, you have to admit, Shedeur did enough to be named the starter next week. They won the game, right?
Yeah, but that's the Raiders. The Raiders stink. I mean, you got to look at it that way. But even
the players around Shedeur, it was bad football all over the field, right? And it is two different teams with Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. They couldn't be any more different. Personality and play style. It reminds me of the New York Giants.
I was just going to say that.
When they threw Jackson Dart and Scadaboo in there, they didn't anticipate that this season. But a lot of energy, a lot of juice, a lot of excitement, some bonehead plays, but the game's got a lot more exciting. And the way Shedeur, everything's outside the pocket, big throws. He's running around the pocket. He's not staying calm and quiet in the pocket just yet. They couldn't get Dillon Gabriel to throw the ball downfield. It does almost look like he wasn't trying to throw the ball downfield. It seems like Shedeur is much more likely to push the ball downfield, and we know it's going to lead to a lot of good and some bad, but it's definitely way more chances to win the game if Shedeur's behind the center from what I've seen.
If he starts and plays poorly, then what do? Then you're going into the draft to get one.
Oh,
no doubt about it.
For sure.
No doubt about it.
That's any quarterback they play poorly.
But I mean, these guys, I don't.
So you're saying the leash is short for either way?
I don't think either one of them is the long-term answer, but I would play Shedeur to find out if he is. He might be. I could be wrong, but I would find out what he can do. Huh? I've been right a lot too.
The best part for me too, man, as a father, was seeing Coach Prime in there, just being excited for his baby. And I said it when he made the one big throw, and all I could hear in my head was Coach Prime, my baby, that's my baby. So it was a good moment for the Sanders family all around. Been a long time coming. Kid's been through a lot this year, facing some adversity, which I'm sure he's never faced on the football field before. And he's stepping up and he's proving it. But we know what this league is. It's a show me every week league, and he's going to have to take it to another level next week.
You heard the confidence there and the pregame with Tiffany Blackman in that interview.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah, I love that too. The mic drop and then goes out there and gets it done. So we will keep our eyes out on next week. The next game for the Browns is against the 49ers on Sunday. So we will see who's going to be the starter.
It'll be a little tougher
in that one. Let's talk about the Ravens, though, guys, because I remember there was a time on this show where we didn't think that this Ravens team was going to make it into the playoffs, and now I know you're tilting your head a little bit.
Not me.
No, that
wasn't me. I thought
they won the point.
No, I thought they would make the playoffs based on their schedule.
Either way, guys, they have now won 5 straight. They take care of the Jets today. We saw a little bit of a Derrick Henry resurgence as well. The big takeaway from this, though, is that they are now tied with the Steelers on top of that division. Both teams 6-5, but it certainly feels like two teams, Pete, that are going in opposite directions here.
Yeah, and again, the Steelers played on the road without their starting quarterback, so you got to put a little asterisk next to it. But I feel like the Ravens are on the rise and the Steelers are coming back to the pack. And when you look at it, they play 2 games against each other, so that's going to ultimately be what decides the division title. And the last one is the final week of the season. But the Ravens, for some reason, we haven't seen the best of them. And I said this last week on the show. The Ravens have always played so well during the regular season and flamed out in the postseason. And so maybe this is the reverse of that. They haven't been great in the regular season this year. And even today, Lamar Jackson wasn't great today. And I don't know if it's because he can't run and he's limited and he's not doing the same type of things he normally does. But at some point, he's going to get all the way back. Their defensive players are coming back. They're all getting back on the field. And the Ravens, when they get in, and I still think they're going to win the division, when they get in, they're going to be one of those teams that nobody wants to play.
Yeah, Pete, and I couldn't agree with you more. Just because of how this game played out and how the games have played out since Lamar has come back, And we talked about it on the earlier segment, Logan, where you don't know how much he trusts that hamstring at this point. And then you look at it on today, they were 2 for 5 in the red zone, which is not Baltimore Ravens football. Just the threat of Lamar being able to run down there has opened up things in the past for Derrick Henry to be able to hit those creases and score those touchdowns. And then they were 2 for 11 on third down. And so I think as the season progresses, they're going to get healthier. And then, like Pete said, I think we're going to see the real Baltimore Ravens if they get into the playoffs. And I think right now they're just winning games how they're able to win games, whatever that looks like and whoever that may be. But it's all about them winning football games just to be able to get in the tournament, and then they'll turn it loose.
Yeah, I don't think any of us, we're all agreeing that the Ravens are on their way up and they're probably going to make the playoffs. We were all shocked at the beginning of the year of how they played. I mean, they were like preseason Super Bowl favorites. And then they lost some close games. They were fumbling. Then they had all these injuries. Well, they're getting healthier, and they're still one of the only few teams that have like a top 5 quarterback and a top 5 running back. And I don't really care what's going on. When they're both back there, it's hard to defend. You add in Zay Flowers getting back in line. You add in Kyle Hamilton, a top DB in the league, Roquan Smith, right, defensive line. Like, they just have so much talent and experience at players that they're just going to end up finding ways to win games just on that alone, right? You're not going to hold this team down for 17 games. So I think Lamar Jackson's back. He's not his full self yet, but it seems like they're getting healthier. They seem like they're playing better, and they are going to be a team. And this is the most wide open year of the playoffs I can imagine, right? There is going to be a team in the AFC, Denver, New England, the Colts, that got to play the Ravens. And some people are going to pick the Ravens as favorites in that game. And say, well, what about the Ravens? They had so many injuries, they had such a rough year. But I'm going to take Lamar Jackson in this one versus that other team. So they might be the team you don't want to see, but they're definitely going to come back just because that talent is so high in what they got.
The Ravens are known for running the football. That's what they're known for. And you mentioned Henry had a resurgence. He only averaged 3 yards per carry today.
I just meant he got into the end zone twice.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But, I mean, I'm saying their running game, and Lamar Jackson, 7 carries, 11 yards.
Yeah.
That tells you, that sends a message all the way to everybody that he's not even close to being healthy.
It's interesting, too, all of the things you guys are talking about. Week 7, that was, 5 weeks ago? They were 3.5 games back. That's where the playoff conversation and where all that came from was, what is this, to your point? It was a historically bad start for this team. So the fact that they've rallied and now they're in first place. And then when you look at the rest of the schedule, Pete, something you're always talking about is how favorable it is, right? Because they've got the Bengals, the Steelers, the Bengals again, and then they finish with the Patriots, Packers, Steelers. I mean, realistically, how can they finish the season?
Well, I think they'll beat the Steelers twice and win the division, and that's all that'll end up mattering because nobody else is going to catch them in that division. But I think they beat the Steelers at home and at Pittsburgh if that game matters. That game, by that time, that game might not even matter. I mean, they should beat the Bengals twice, I would think.
What do you think about that Patriots game?
That's a tough game, but it's at home. You're supposed to win that game. And I think they will win that game. So the Packers game's a tough game. So say they go lose 1 or 2 games down the stretch, I think they win a division, provided they beat the Steelers twice.
And look, they haven't had their best season, but it's the worst that division's been in a long time.
Yeah.
That was one of the best divisions in football for a long time. It was a tough division, right? The Ravens dealt with injuries this year. Joe Burrow, obviously, injury was not what the Bengals were expecting. The Browns couldn't make a quarterback decision or make a right one this year, and they're wasting a great defense, what the Browns are doing this season. And then the Steelers, right, had the Aaron Rodgers injury. So I can't remember, Pete, you've been covering this league for a long time and ran as well. I can't remember the last time this division was that bad. It almost works out in the Ravens' favor because even banged up, they're still in it, and they can walk away with it, and it's not even a strong year.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Week 18. Simple as that. It's going to come down to Week 18.
Maybe not.
And because I think those that 2-game stretch where you have the Patriots and the Packers, I think they're going to lose one of those games, and potentially they could lose both of them. But like you said, you have Pittsburgh, you have the Bengals twice, you have the Packers and Patriots in there together, and then you finish out with Pittsburgh again. It's going to come down to that Week 18 game where if they win the division and they're in the tournament.
By the way, you mentioned this division. How many times? When has it ever been this bad? I don't remember it being this bad in a long, long time. But I also don't remember the league being this bad in a long, long time.
Is anybody any good?
No, I say it every week. Is anybody any good? No, they're not. And you said it when we were in the green room. This might be the most wide open playoffs that we've ever seen.
But this is what the league is built upon.
They love it.
Being able to create parity and have these matchups that matter each and every week.
They love it.
There is a lot of parity. I'm looking at the playoff picture right now, and there's a lot of teams that we're not used to seeing. Patriots, Broncos, Bears, Bucks. It is a lot of fun. It's going to be a wild finish. All right, let's hit another break here on Game Day Recap. When we come back, we are staying in the North. Unfortunately, the Steelers not able to get it done, but I tell you what, the Bears have been pretty electric this year. We're breaking it down next on Game Day Recap. Welcome back to Game Day Recap. Did you have the Bears leading the division on your bingo card this year? That is currently what we're looking at when it comes to the NFC North. They continue to march through the season on top, 8-3 under first-year head coach Ben Johnson, and now Chicago has won 8 of their last 9. You also have the Packers and the Lions close behind in the race, and then the Vikings have some work to do, safe to say. We're going to get into that in just a moment as we welcome you back into our CBS Sports HQ studios. Pete Prisco, Carthon, Logan Ryan, I'm Haley Sutton. Guys, let's talk about the Bears. 4 straight wins, and I remember a couple weeks ago they had like that weird loss, but before that it was like the longest winning streak in the NFL to that time. It just seems like they are really finding their stride right now, Rand, the Bears are.
Yeah, and they're starting to click on all cylinders in terms of the offense, and the run game has really given them a big boost, which we know, as much as we know Ben Johnson for being creative, he has leaned heavily on that run game during his time in Detroit, and now you're starting to see that in Chicago. But more importantly, Caleb Williams is starting to play better football. He's taking better care of the football now. He's going to have those head-scratching plays where you're like, what the hell are you doing? And then he'll find a way to whirly-bird his way out of it and extend a play and make a play for you. But he is making plays for this football team. And dare I say, when the game is close, late in the fourth quarter, and they get the football back, I personally have belief that Caleb Williams can drive this team down the football field and score touchdowns for you. And then you talk about coming into this game, if you're the Bears defense, you're without all 3 of your starting linebackers,
right,
your top 3 linebackers, which is a hard thing to do from replacing those guys and the way they've played. But then your ability to adjust and make adjustments on the sideline with 3 guys that hadn't played much. But 2 of their young guys came in and both had 14 tackles or more individually. And so they stepped in and played some good ball for them. So this Bears team is starting to become a complete team and starting to really establish themselves in that NFC North.
It's the first time they beat a team with a winning record. So you got to give them credit for that. And they were behind twice in this game and came back. And that's a good sign for a young team. And you mentioned Caleb Williams. He made a terrible play in the end zone when he lost holding on to the ball and lost a fumble. That turned into a touchdown for the Steelers. But that's always something I want to know about a quarterback is how do you respond after a mistake? And he responded. And that's the best thing that if you're the Bears and you take that out of this and say, hey, my quarterback faced adversity and some of it was caused by himself and kind of recovered off of that, that's a great sign for the Bears. So, look, you got to give them credit. They lead the division. Ben Johnson's done a great job, and let's see if they can hang on to it.
They're a sneaky 8-3, and it's coaching, man. Coaching is, in the sport of football, I mean, I think this is the sport where coach is the most important. I always say this because every single play starts on a dead ball. In other sports, in basketball, Kobe can go clear it out and go figure it out. In soccer, Messi can go do what he's got to do. The coach got to do nothing. They can sit on the bench and watch. But in the NFL, the coach has to be so good in the situations, right? And they got the right coach. They have the quarterback they believe in. They got the coach. And the Bears weren't so far off last year, but they had such bad coaching decisions, lost so many one-score games that it just looked out of control, but they had good pieces on the roster, some good receivers. The quarterback, they addressed the offensive line, and then they get a guy like Kevin Byard, right? The linebackers are out, but you got the old trusted veteran Kevin Byard, and all he does is lead a league in interceptions about since I played with him, he was doing that. I'm on this desk, and he's still doing that. So that's a matter of consistency right there. But they're a team, like you said, Pete, and Rand, like you're believing them down the stretch. Like to win the game down the stretch. And you don't do that if Ben Johnson's not the coach. If this was last year, we wouldn't believe that the Bears could win games down the stretch.
Do you believe that the Bears are going to win that division or the best team in that division? That's the question because the answer to that is probably no. I mean, I'll be honest with you, my answer is no. I don't think they're
Are you
the best.
sticking with the Packers?
I think the Packers are the best team in the division. I don't think we've seen the best of the Packers yet. But give the Bears credit because they're going to be a playoff team. I mean, that much is pretty much a given. Unless they totally collapse, they're going to be a playoff team.
Well, I'll say going into the season, I had the Bears making the playoffs.
I did as well.
I had the Bears. I actually had, and this was pre-Micah, and not saying that Micah should have swung it that much of a difference, but I had the Bears in and the Packers out. Is what
You probably
I
had the Vikings in too, though.
I didn't have the Vikings.
The Lions.
I had the Lions. I had the Lions winning the division. I thought it would be clear cut and easy that was the Lions division. But here's the one thing I want to say. Not only is Ben Johnson a great coach, but the one thing that he did that he does not get enough credit for is he built a really good coaching staff. If you go down that roster and you look at that coaching staff from top to bottom, not only does he have former players sprinkled in there, but he has guys that teach fundamentals and techniques. And Logan, you know that is a missing art in our game at this point, are the guys that can teach you the fundamentals, the techniques, and the why behind everything that you're doing. And if you look at this coaching staff that he's built, you see a lot of that in there.
We talked about that Cowboys-Chiefs game on Thanksgiving being an exciting playoff implications in that one. On Friday, we then get Eagles-Bears. So, Rand, I'll give you last word here before we push ahead. Early expectations for what we can expect between the Bears and the Eagles on Friday.
Man, I think it's going to come down. It's going to be a defensive game, and it's going to be a matter of which defense can really get after the quarterback, and which I personally, on the early part of it, I think it'll be the Eagles. I think the Eagles will come out on top because I think they'll not only will they be able to get after the quarterback, but I think coming off of this loss, they're going to find a way to get Saquon the ball. And
I'll refrain from making my pick till Tuesday.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
You got your show on Tuesday.
I'm kidding.
We're excited for that one. I did want to mention T.J. Watt, 115th career sack. He passed his brother as well for that record there. So some good stuff for the Steelers, but some work to do. Pete, I want to talk about your Packers because they came to life on defense. They had 4 turnovers, 5 sacks. Were you more impressed, I guess, with what the Packers were able to do defensively, or were you more concerned maybe with what J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings were not able to do?
Both.
Okay.
Look, the offensive line. Well, the offensive line was beat up. I mean, Christian Darrisaw is a really good left tackle, and he looked like a spinning top out there. I mean, Micah Parsons was a man possessed today. He was fantastic. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy is a problem. I mean, let's be real. Nobody says it. Nobody has said it. I've continued to say it. The Vikings have a J.J. McCarthy problem. You know, all we ever heard was, oh, Kevin O'Connell, he can fix everybody. He fix anybody who goes through there. He fixed Sam Darnold. Look, if Daniel Jones now, he fixed him even as a backup. He can fix everybody. He's not fixing his own damn quarterback, is he? He's a problem right now. And if you can't if Kevin O'Connell and his staff can't fix J.J. McCarthy, they have a major problem. Major problem.
I love when Pete gets passionate about this.
Yeah,
you hear the spike in his voice. And he's high pitched when he starts talking about these things. But here's what Minnesota's offense turned the ball over 3 times today. And their time of possession was only 22 minutes. They held the ball for 22 minutes. And I don't care who you are, you can't beat anybody in this league unless you're hitting explosives and where you're only possessing the ball for 22 minutes. But what I want to say about this Packers team, and Pete said we hadn't seen the best of the Packers yet. To me, we've been saying that every week. So when are we going to see it? Today, they had 288 total yards. They had 142 yards passing, 146 yards rushing on the ground on a day where they didn't have Josh Jacobs. So shout out to Emmanuel Wilson, who had 28 carries for 107 and 2 touchdowns. Can you explain the logo?
I don't know what that is.
Can you explain the logo?
That's when you pull a running back off the shelf and put another one in, and he rushes for 100 yards just like the other guy did. They're everywhere.
Shut up, Pete. Shut up, Pete. But this Packers team, yes, this is a talented team, and when they're clicking, they can be a problem. But where Pete said we hadn't seen the best of them yet, again, I feel like we've been saying this every week. So when are we going to see it? And if that's not the case, then is this who they are?
Well, today was pretty damn good now.
I mean, you just said that Minnesota has a J.J. McCarthy problem.
Well, but
and he passed for under 100 yards. And so it's kind of like.
I mean, they turned the ball over. They took the ball away. They didn't have to do a lot on offense. And like you said, they had point-blank fields. But if they play that way on defense, they're going to get games out of Love where they can score the ball, score a lot of points. It just hasn't. I don't think they've been the best on offense yet that we've seen.
But that's kind of like that's kind of my thing with them right now. It's when is it going to come in, and is this who this offense really is? So we'll see. We'll see.
And that's the point right there is Jordan Love. Is he going to ascend? Right, they're talking about how old he is at this age, 28, when Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers won it. Is he the guy to take this roster and take this team to title town? You know, and I don't know. Today he was 14 of 21, 139. Played super safe. The defense and Jeff Half, we talk about great coaches. Jeff Half's a great coach. Okay, so they have a great defensive coach over there. They're capable of playing great defense. Micah Parsons go off and wreck a game, right, like a generational player that he is, and that's why they acquired him. But is Jordan Love going to do enough? Because Josh Jacobs wasn't there, and it wasn't like LaFleur was like, let me put it on Jordan Love's back. You know what I'm saying, Rand? It wasn't like, oh, he can handle it all. It's almost like he's managing it because he's got to take care of the ball. So is that going to be enough in a wide-open playoff race like we talked about where you're saying, I feel really good about Jordan Love to go and win all these games this year on the road or whatever. And
we
go
did it
win a
last week
title.
against the Giants, though. You know,
Against the who?
Hey, they pushed it. They pushed a good team on the road today in Detroit. So yeah. But he did. He had to do it. Nobody else was playing well, and he did it against the Giants last week.
We're going to learn a lot about the Packers. I mean, we talked about a gauntlet of a schedule. They've got the Lions, obviously, on Thanksgiving, and then they got to play the Bears, the Broncos, the Bears again, and then they finish with Ravens, Vikings. So we're going to learn a lot over the next couple of weeks when it comes to the Packers. I do want to talk about the Lions, though, here. I feel like on this show, when we've spoken about them, it hasn't, and I know Lions fans probably won't like this, but it hasn't been very memorable. I feel like when we talk about the Lions in the past, it was Dan Campbell's special team, and it was fireworks, and it was Jared Goff, and we saw Jahmyr Gibbs have a big game. But let's keep it a bean here. They went toe-to-toe with Jameis Winston and the New York Giants today, and Jameis played great. They had moments, but when you think, Ran, about what the Lions are, who they're supposed to be, what do you think of them in Detroit? What's their identity this year when you're getting overtime wins over a team that just got eliminated from the playoffs?
I think the problem right now, and first of all, before I say it's a problem, I think Kelvin Shepard has done a really nice job with that defense, especially with the amount of pieces that have been in and out. But I think right now that the defense has been a bit of a problem for them, and them being able to stop people from scoring points. But if you're the Lions, and they have some other issues too, you're talking about this offense. Dan Campbell's now calling the plays, right? So you've taken the play calling away from John Morton. That's an issue. And then when you're Dan Campbell, now a lot of your focus is getting ready for the offense, making these adjustments. And now he can't be the CEO head coach that he's always been to make some of these decisions, because now he has to factor in his ability to call plays. But at the end of the day, he's got that guy in the backfield, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes, he does.
And when he can get the ball and create space for this guy, I asked the question in the green room, is this guy the most explosive and fastest player in the league right now?
And with Tyreek Hill out right now, I couldn't think of anybody else
He probably is.
that can compete with him. Maybe Waddle, but
not
Gibbs,
like that.
Gibbs is a different level when he has the ball. And Rand, I'll say this, man. I believe in the Lions because they have star players.
Yeah.
Right? They have some true star players. They can run the ball. I know Laporta's out, but they have Amon-Ra. They can convert third downs. Goff's been there before. They still got a good O-line. Jahmyr Gibbs is the most explosive offensive player in football at the moment. And then defensively, they got their guy Aiden Hutchinson to close out games. And I know we said, oh, man, they struggle with the Giants, but a Jameis Winston effect team.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we see this with Jameis every single year. This man caught a touchdown pass. He had a double pass. He was doing alley-oops in the end zone. There was kind of some crazy stuff going on. The Lions still found a way to rally at the end. But I will say, if you see this team in the playoffs, they got some pieces where you're like, hey, Gibbs can go hit a home run in overtime, or Amon-Ra can go for 10 for 140 on us, or Aiden Hutchinson go get 3 sacks and go wreck that game. They do have some star pieces. You cannot sleep on the Detroit Lions.
But real quick, Pete, before you go on, the pieces you were naming, you didn't say David Montgomery. You didn't say Sam Laporta. These are all weapons, and along with his 219
Laporta's
yards.
gone now, though.
Well,
so
he's out for the year.
Yeah.
Well, even Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 219 yards rushing today, but he also had 11 catches.
Yeah, no, that's the problem.
11 catches, 15 carries. He's got the ball in his hand 26 times. Something explosive is going to happen.
Can this team win a Super Bowl?
They got to get the guys back in the second. They need Joseph back. They need Arnold back. Those guys need to get back in the secondary. There's too many guys running wide open all the time, and that's a problem. So if they do get those guys back, sure they can.
I had Detroit and Baltimore in the Super Bowl were my picks this preseason.
You feel good about it?
I don't feel good about it, but I'm gonna stick to.
But I don't feel good about mine anymore either.
I'm just gonna roll with it because I said it, and I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna hold myself accountable.
Stick beside him. Yes, you are.
And so we'll see.
I will give you guys this nugget. We talk about Saquon. We talk about Bijan Robinson. We talk about these great backs. When I was on the San Francisco 49ers, we played the Detroit Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs was the #1 guy that we wanted to take out the game, and he was a rookie that year. So he's even better now, but out of all their weapons and their stars, we knew that kid that year was like, no, we need to have a plan on that guy 26. The rest of them, we got to do our best, but we got to make sure we don't get this guy singled up because he is a home run hitter for them.
Well, Dan Campbell took him out of the game by going for it on 4th down a couple times.
Regardless, Jahmyr Gibbs, 3rd player in Lions history with 250-plus scrimmage yards and 3+ touchdowns in a single game. He is certainly turning heads, and we are excited to see that game against the Packers on Thanksgiving. Okay, when we come back, not the cleanest game for Drake May, but somehow, some way, the Patriots continue to roll. We'll break it down next on Game Day Recap. Welcome back to Game Day Recap. You know, it wasn't pretty, but hey, the Patriots, 9 straight wins. They get it done against the Bengals. New England now just the second team to start 10-2 or better after back-to-back 13+ lost seasons. Of course, a lot of that credit has to go to Mike Vrabel for turning things around. Drake May with another electric performance too. And now look at the reward. When it comes to that AFC playoff picture, the Patriots hanging out at the top of the board there, division leaders at 10-2, followed by the Broncos, Colts, and Ravens, who we talked about earlier. The AFC just looks a lot different this year. You've got the Chiefs on the outside looking in. We just talked about the Steelers as well. This race is really going to come down to the wire, but the Patriots standing tall in this one as they pick up win number 9 in a row. All right, fellas, each and every week we talk about Drake May being an MVP contender. We talk about the Patriots and the turnaround here. I've got a resident Patriot sitting on my desk.
We got a homer here.
Normally, Damien is very honest about how he feels about his Patriots, but how are you feeling right now?
Let's see if you get invited back to the alumni weekend.
We're back. We had a hard 4 years.
Yes.
But the Patriots are back. Drake May, MVP candidate. Listen, this guy is leading the league in passing, and he hasn't thrown for over 300 yards in one game. That is called consistency, Pete. And don't get tired of consistency. Don't get bored of consistency. The Patriots had injuries too. The running backs are hurt. Who they got? Travion Henderson coming back, right? Receivers have been out the lineup, and they still find ways to win. They have 2 of my favorite pairings of corners, and Carlton Davis, Christian Gonzalez. Those guys been banged up at times, and they're still finding ways to win. They have a legitimate Coach of the Year candidate, obviously a former Coach of the Year, and Mike Vrabel, guy I played for. He knows how to win games, and Drake May is so consistent behind the helm. Yes, their schedule's been light, but they're doing what they're supposed to do, taking advantage of everybody. They had some litmus tests, and they still won that. So, to me, they've been the most consistent team. Recently, they do it running the ball. They do it by having an accurate quarterback, and they do it by playing great run defense. And they can play man-to-man down the stretch and make plays. So, they have everything they need in a wide-open year. Why not the Patriots?
Yeah, Logan, I'm glad you brought that stat up about Drake May. Not only has he not thrown for 300 yards this season, he has not thrown for 300 yards as a pro.
Wow.
In the National Football League, and I was like mind blown when I saw that last week. I was like, there's no way this stat is correct. But that shows you to the level in which they're playing. We talk about it every week up here with the Patriots. They are a well-coached football team that understands situational football. And they're not going to wow you or be the sexy pick in anything they do, but they just line up and play good football each and every week. And like you said, doesn't matter who they put in front of them on the schedule, they just line up, they play good football, they play well enough to win and live to see another week.
What do you make of this list? I mean, when you talk about Drake May and the MVP conversation.
That's a great list to be on, I can tell you that. If Patrick Mahomes and Dan Marino, the other 2 on that list,
all his lists impressive.
That's a great list to be on. Look, they're not sexy, they're not pretty, but like you said, they're so well coached. And Mike Vrabel, and you have a coach and a quarterback. It's always coach and quarterback. If you have those 2 things, you're going to win in this league, and they have it. The #1 seed will be in New England. The playoffs will go through New England. The schedule says so. I can't see that going in any other direction. If you're going to win in the AFC, you're going to have to go to Foxborough and win there.
Back
Logan,
to good old times.
real quick, because sometimes when we're up here, I try to give a little peek behind the curtain. You play for Mike Vrabel. Can you just let everyone know what it's like playing for Mike Vrabel and why Mike Vrabel coach teams perform the way they do?
I would say it's accountability at every position. And he is going to challenge, similar to Bill Belichick at times, the top players to play consistent and to be accountable. And it's everything that we talked about what the Eagles are struggling to do, sacrificing ego to go win the game. Drake May is an MVP candidate, and he hasn't thrown for 300 yards. He doesn't care for how many yards he throws for. They've went through 3 different running backs, and they're still running the ball. Different wide receivers. I've seen Matt Collins have big games. They played through 2 tight ends that no one's going to have as their top fantasy tight ends. So he's going to make sure. You're talking about defensively. You talk about stop the run. I asked Vrabel the other day, hey, man, what do you guys like have historic run defense? It's like up there with the 2000 Ravens. What do you do? And he's like, you know what we do. We don't rush up the field on first, second down. We don't care about sacks. We build a wall, an edge, and we swarm. I don't want my pass rushers 5 yards up the field chasing a sack record. We want to play good team defense. Team defense is not stat chasing, right? But that style of play, that style of coaching is similar like Popovich and the Spurs. We're going to slow the game down. We're going to beat you in situations. It's not the prettiest, but you've got to get pro players who are getting paid millions of dollars, who have agents, families to feed, to buy in, sacrifice self-stats. It might not be my game every time. I might not get the top matchup if I'm Christian Gonzalez every single week, but I got to be willing to do how they want me to play in order for the team to win, and he's got those boys bought in.
The one great thing about today, he threw a bad interception. And they fell behind 10-0 on Geno Stone, picked it off, and it was thrown way over the head of the receiver in the middle of the field, and he responded. And that, to me, tells you everything you need to know about a quarterback right there. How do you respond after that kind of mistake? And he did it.
Can the Patriots win a Super Bowl in 2025?
Yes. In this year, anybody can win a Super Bowl. It's wide open.
I was going to err on the side of no, but in this league, and like Pete said and like Logan said, this year is probably the most parity we've seen from top to bottom throughout the league. So, damn it, anything's possible.
Logan?
Absolutely, and here's why. They got a great coach, right? It comes down to coaching these big games. They got a quarterback who's efficient, takes care of the football, right? They can stop the run on defense when the weather gets cold. You know the run game comes out, and then at the end of the day, you got to be playing man-to-man in the Super Bowl. You got to be able to match up in critical situations and win mano-a-mano, and they can do that as well. So they have all the pieces on the Super Bowl teams I was on, and even on the Niners teams I was on, and we went to the Super Bowl, we had the pieces, and those are the things I've seen that you need in order to win a Super Bowl.
They're looking pretty good to me up there, top of the AFC. We will keep our eyes on them next week. They got a really tough matchup against the Giants. Nolan, now the 3rd heaviest player to score in 2025. Of course, Jordan Davis was the heaviest earlier this season. He had that big, I believe it was a punt return.
No, the blocked field goal.
Oh, the block. You're right. Yeah. It was the blocked field goal. Sheldon Rankins on there. We obviously have a resident lineman on set as well. Pete, producer Jack wanted to get your thoughts on the big men touchdown and how you feel about season.
I love big men touchdowns.
Saying you're heavy. I guess you're going the heaviest or something.
No, I'm not on that list.
Even
at my heaviest, I was never on that list. I can promise you that.
In your lower there, we have you labeled as a former thick boy.
Yeah, I think my arms are bigger than that now.
Company guy.
When was this pick? Is this
long time ago?
He looked like he was giving blood.
It was a long time ago. I had hair. You can tell that was a long time ago.
I was going to say, that's definitely a different
what are you saying there?
That's why I said,
well,
I said you look different.
No, you went, well, yeah, I was going to say that. How long ago was that?
Listen, my husband randomly shaving his head. I'm the president of bald heads
okay.
now.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
All right, so we've got big man touchdown. You like the big man touchdown?
I do like big man touchdowns. I just think that one was a bad play by the quarterback. He held the ball in that situation. But Nolan made a great play. Look, Nolan's a wonderful athlete, and he's going to be a big-time player. Yeah. Everybody thought that when he came into the draft.
Man, I tell you what, that touchdown looked like it hurt.
Yeah, when he scored.
The way he scored and the way he landed. Oh, he's going to feel that tomorrow.
That was the first time he probably scored ever at any level. It looked like he never really got close before.
It was a hell of an athletic play.
It was a good catch for sure.
What do we think about the Jags, though? I mean, the Jags end up winning this game. It's overtime. Trevor Lawrence, we got the full experience. I believe he had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Just kind of a mess in
They're going to be in the playoffs. Take that to the bank. The schedule says so. And they're not that good. It's amazing. It really is. We said this in the green room. What do they do well? Do they throw it well? No. Do they run it well? They're pretty good running it. Is the offensive line good? It's okay. Defensively, do they rush the passer? They're okay rushing the passer, not great. They do stop the run, surprisingly, which is something they do, and they have a good defensive coordinator in Campanelli. They're not great on the back end. I mean, they have all kinds of issues, and here they are at 7-4. And you look at that schedule: Titans next week, Colts at home. They own the Colts in Jacksonville. They never win there, and then the Jets at home. Is that not that could be 3 straight wins? That would make it 4 straight wins. And how good are they? We don't know. We have no idea how good they are.
I tell you what. As up and down as they've been all year and how they play today, they turned the ball over 4 times and still found a way to win a football team, football game, which is a rare feat in this league. And it's just one of those, man, where week to week you just don't know what you're going to get from Jacksonville. It was the one big game they had early in this year where everyone was ready to crown them.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
And then the very next week they lose one. And so it's just up and down.
Young team.
Up and down, up and down. And I think with their head coach, I think Liam has come in and infused this team with some confidence.
Yep.
And I think we see that in spots, but I think they always revert when things get hard, when situations get tight. I think their key guys, the ones that they're counting on to step up and make game-changing plays, I think they revert back to things that have been there before.
The quarterback does.
And they haven't found a way to kind of get over that yet.
Yeah, I really like the head coach and Liam Cohen. I got to sit down with him when I called their game this year. And you talk about how Vrabel holds his best players accountable. He holds those best players accountable. You see how he talks to Trevor Lawrence on the field during the games. You can imagine at practice he's challenging him. And I think they're up and down because Trevor Lawrence has been up and down. But what do they do well, Pete? I think they have a really good run scheme, right? They call plays similar how the Rams try to run the ball and the Bucs for previous years, trying to with Bucky Irving last year. That's what they're trying to do there. They really like their backs, right? That's why they got rid of one of them. But Etienne, they got to get him going. And if they get production from their star players, like they're doing this without Brian Thomas, another guy they are holding extremely accountable because he's not out there right now. Travis Hunter's not out there for them, a superstar draft pick. They're doing it with Parker Washington and these other guys. It's because the coaching is so good offensive. And Campanelli, the defensive coordinator guy I played for, he had them getting a lot of turnovers early in the season. And look, I like the backers when they're healthy out there, and they do have some predominant good pass rushers, right? So if you can rush the passer, you can run the ball, they're going to go as Trevor Lawrence goes. If they get in the playoff and Trevor Lawrence plays well, they can beat someone out there. But if he's up and down, not taking care of the ball, then they have no shot.
He makes some throws today that I'm just sitting there going, what in the hell are you doing? And then he makes some throws, you go, oh my God, look at that throw. And so that's what you get with him. Inconsistent, and it frustrates. I know they're frustrated inside that building at times with him, and I know the team gets frustrated with him, but how do you get it out of him? That's the question.
First quarterback in Jaguars history with 3 or more passing touchdowns and 3 or more interceptions in a single game, and that is the duality of Trevor Lawrence. If we move over and talk about the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, we haven't really felt that this year. He's got a really great wide receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba, who has already become the Seahawks single-season record holder with, 6 more weeks to go left in the season. He passes DK Metcalf. Rand, why has he been able to be so successful in year 3? Why this year are the Seahawks figuring it out?
They have a quarterback. they have a guy that can consistently get him the football. Then they have a great scheme.
There you go.
In this scheme that they're running, that is Shanahan, Kubiak, the emergence of this scheme. So it's a really good scheme for him. But if you go back to when he came out, and I know Pete evaluated him, he was a polished receiver. People questioned whether he had the speed to play on the outside. But one thing you knew is he knew how to get open. Whether that was attacking leverages, whether that was being able to stack guys, get it to the top of the route, give you a little head fake, a little shoulder. He knew how to get open. And I think now we're seeing that he plays faster than what we would have given him credit for because he can stretch the field vertically. But I think in the grand scheme of things, he understands how to get open and has a quarterback in Sam Darnold that can get him the ball on time and in a space where he can catch it and allows him to create separation.
Well, he's an elite separator, right? And that's the hardest guys to cover. It's not the fastest, the guys who can change the speed the fastest, the guys who can stop the fastest and re-accelerate. And that's what he is. And you said about scheme, Rand. That's true. Listen, I want to explain how the NFL play calling works. The reason why he's having this year is he's a really good player, but he's the number 1 option in the offense, right? There is no DK Metcalf. There is no Tyler Lockett. He's not the 2nd or 3rd option anymore. He is the number 1 option. the plays are drawn up for him to be the number one option. Sam Darnold came over there and said, that's my guy. Every time he's one-on-one, I'm going to throw it to that guy. Every time we have a scheme versus zone coverage, I'm going to throw it to that guy. Same thing in an NBA team. When you come down, you get to run the ISO every single play. That's what they're doing for him. So he's getting the production, and he's rewarding them with it.
Got about 20 seconds, Pete. Thoughts on the Seahawks going forward?
Look, Sam Darnold bounced back. That's the best thing that happened. He was awful last week. He bounced back, didn't throw a pick this week, and that's a good sign for him. Smith and Jigma, remember, he took the part of that year off, and there were questions about him. Remember, at the end of his senior season, he's answered every single question about him.
He was right.
He is balling out. All right, time to hit our final break here on Game Day Recap. When we come back, and it's time for everyone's favorite winners and losers. Myles Garrett, enough said. MVP season loading. We'll talk about it next. Final few minutes here on Game Day Recap. Let's wrap this thing up by talking winners and losers. There were some big performances. There were some dud performances. And as always, our Pete Prisco is going to kick us off with his winner.
My winner is the Green Bay Packers defense. Look, they showed up in a big way. Micah Parsons looked like a man possessed. They couldn't block him. They put him on the inside. They put him on the outside. He got all over the quarterback. They made the Vikings offensive line look awful. And this is why you bring him in there, because he was dominant and the defense was dominant. Packers defense, my winner.
Yeah, I'm going Cleveland's defensive front. They had 10 sacks today. They had 10 of the team's 13 tackles for a loss. And you talk about a man possessed. What about that guy, Myles Garrett?
Unreal.
He is playing out of his mind.
Best
He
player in the league.
Has 15 sacks on the season, 11 sacks in the last 4 games. You said it. He should be in the conversation for MVP. I second that.
I'm going to go with Thanksgiving football, and that's going to be on CBS because they're going to have the
Company
Chiefs.
guy.
They're going to have the Chiefs versus the Dallas Cowboys. And now with both the Chiefs and the Cowboys win, both these teams, both these quarterbacks, this game is very important. The Chiefs are still playing for their season. Dallas could be back in the mix. The playoff odds are going up slowly but surely, and it's going to be an electric game. The fact that we get that on CBS, I think is going to be massive.
Yeah, I would take the Cowboys as my winner all day long, but since you did it for me, it makes me look less like a homer. I'm taking Jackson Smith and Jigba as my winner today. I mentioned becoming the franchise's single-season leader in terms of yards, but he also has 11 straight games with 75 or more receiving yards. That's the third longest streak all time, and he accounts for nearly 47% of this team's offensive output. So JSN is doing big things, but so are my Cowboys. So I'm going to copy off your paper a little bit there in terms and double dip there if I can. Let's go to losers. I'm taking the low-hanging fruit, Pete. I'm sorry. I'm taking the Giants, but I'm taking the Giants because they're the first team to be eliminated from the playoffs. Not only that, but this is the earliest since like the 1950s that they've been eliminated. They got a lot to work on and a lot to look forward to, I guess, in the future, but they're my loser today. Logan?
I'm going to go with J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings got 99 problems, and 9 is number 1. Because
I've heard that before.
shout out to you, Jack. I hope you liked it. Look, I'm going to tell you this. The Vikings had options. They did. They had Sam Darnold in the building. They didn't like it, right? They had Daniel Jones in the building. He got out the building. They had Aaron Rodgers in free agency. They chose to go a different direction. They chose to bet on J.J. McCarthy, and he is not paying it off.
I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. Simply because I feel like they've been wasting some good Jacoby Brissett moments. He's had 80 completions in the last 2 games and completing 75% of the passes. But I talked about it in the last segment. You created 4 turnovers against the Jacksonville Jaguars and could not find a way to win this football game. So I went with the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm going with the coaches. What the hell are you guys doing? You have no earthly idea how to manage a game, okay? I go through a laundry list. Jaguars, 4th and 1 at the 19, 144 to left. It's okay to kick the field goal to go up 6. No, they didn't. They decided to go for it. Bad decision. Eagles call timeouts when Dallas has none left, when they're still 64 yards away from making the field goal. Dumb decision. Got away with it. Didn't get away with it. Down 16-7. Saints passed on a field goal twice in the 4th quarter. Twice. You can't do that. You got to make it a 6-point game. Dallas passed on a field goal on the goal line. What in the hell were they doing? Kick the field goal, take the lead. They tried to go for it when the game was tied. Moronic. And then the Cardinals went for it 4th and 12 from their own 28 with 2:07 left in the game. What the hell are these coaches doing? Please, CBS. I will give a seminar on how to manage the game if they all want to.
CBS, get this man security at the combine. You're going to get beat up.
That's a mic drop if I've ever heard one. Guys, I missed you. I'm so excited to be back. We will see you guys next Sunday on Game Day Recap.